So now I'm going to check these rods and make sure the ends are round, and obviously like straight. I'm going to replace the small end bushings, and I'm going to use the old bolts to like torque it to check for round, but then I'm going to swap them out with some ARPs for the final assembly. But first we just need to make sure that they're good before I spend a bunch of time making them look nice. And gotta get these old shell bearings out. So for this part, I'm just going to torque the caps, but when we actually do these, I'm going to stretch them because it's way more reliable. I mean, obviously that's an opinion. A lot of people will argue back and forth as to which way is preferred or whatever, but ARP suggests to stretch. I bought their gauge to stretch. It's very physically visible, you know, what you're getting, instead of just like hoping a torque value is right. But also, if you do it properly, you have to like torque it and loosen it and torque it and loosen it multiple times, and I don't know, I just don't like that. So I like to just stretch it, watch it stretch. Makes me feel a lot better. Again, this isn't a tutorial. However you want to do it, you can do it. Okay, so I was going to show you me checking the big end, but there was no way for me to really frame it up, so it's just whatever. There's not much to see anyway. But anyway, I'm going to knock out the old rod bolts now, and then I might clean up a few spots. It's not really crazy dinged up, but the cleaner the better. It just makes me feel better about, you know, no fail points, I guess. But knock these out, knock out the bushings, and then clean them up, make them look pretty. Then I'll put new small end bushings in, hone those, and then obviously I'll have to do like the balance and stuff before I install them onto the crank. But I'll kind of walk you through the rods. Now I'm going to press out the bushings. There's not much to see, so I'm just going to leave you here. And then, like I said, I'm going to touch them up a little bit. There's not that much blemish, but it's always better to kind of smooth those out than to have a point of failure, I guess. Now I'm going to be dynamically balancing the crankshaft. I've got everything weight matched and weighed, and I'm going to be using 694 gram bob weights for an 80% balance factor. Somebody has already kind of gone through and done some balancing work, but I don't know exactly what that has kind of translated to, so we'll see. I'm not going to show a whole lot of this process just because it's not that enjoyable to watch, so I guess I'll just kind of check in with you as I go through. But what I'll end up doing is hopefully putting Mallory metal along here. Usually that's what I end up having to do. It's very rare that I'm removing a lot of weight. It's more so adding, and since somebody's already removed a fair amount of weight from this, I'm guessing I'm just gonna have to add a couple Mallory plugs, but this is, I get these from ABS, but little tungsten plugs. But I'm gonna spin it up, see what it says, and then start making some adjustments, and then I'll kind of show you either when I'm done or partway through, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. It's not that exciting, so. So I got the balance job done. Again, there wasn't really much to show. I mean, I could show you that it's spinning and then what the computer reads out and blah blah, but it's just not that exciting. So I drilled and reamed the 1/2-inch hole for the plug and then just press it in. I ended up just putting a plug on either side and then just doing a little bit of work here. So whoever had done this balance job previously actually did a decent job, or at least it matched well to whatever they were running, probably because it wasn't that far off of what I was shooting for. So fairly easy balance job, but now I'm going to install the rods with the new shells, and I'll kind of show you guys what's going on. I use ARP rod bolts for all the 650s I do. So I like to stretch them using their gauge. It's pretty consistent, you know, compared to just using a torque wrench. They recommend 6.5 to 7/1000 stretch, so it's just kind of nice to be able to watch it. As you torque it down, you can watch the stretch happen and you know you got it right. So it's just my preferred method. I do enough of these that it's worth it. So the one thing I was taught anyway is to kind of take that super razor edge that can develop along here off, so when you slide your shell in, you're not like scraping the backside of it. It just kind of helps. It makes it a lot easier and smoother to install it too. Not a lot, I mean it's not a crazy amount, it's just enough to take that razor edge that can be on there sometimes. I mean they're really, really sharp sometimes. Also, I don't know if I need to mention this, but you wouldn't have seen me do it. I mark the rods from what side they come off just for consistency. You know, it's always a good idea to put things back from where they came. So every rod is stamped to kind of match, and then I've got a stamp on the crank to signify where it goes. Make sure everything is clean, because obviously that's always a good idea. It's just like in the Suzuki Bob videos. So let's say you sent me your crankshaft to grind. in theory, as long as your rods are still round, which, I mean, at home you don't really have a good way of checking that, but if your rods are still round, this is all stuff, anybody can do. Same with even the stretch. You could use a micrometer and kind of check it as you go. Stretch it a little, check it, stretch it a little, check it, you run the risk of overstretching, but you'll see as I do this, it's pretty tough to get up to that 6.5 thousandths. It's a pretty good torque on there. So I like to use really, really thick assembly lube for this, just because I don't know when somebody's going to start their engine. So the longer it can stick around, the better. Careful not to touch the journal. ARP gives you a nice little packet. I have like a ton of these because you only need a little bit. And I've got so many kits I've used. One lasts forever, it seems like. You want it all over the threads, and then it'll get all over the face of the, like, you want it to be around the face of it too, which a lot of it ends up there as you thread it down anyway, so works out good. Try not to play with it too much before you get it torqued down. Obviously I don't think it's quite as gnarly as some of the bigger, larger journaled things, but until it's torqued, it's not truly, the shape it should be, so you can run the risk of kind of marring up the brand new bearings. I have no idea how much of any of this I'm going to keep in, or how much detail I'm going to go into with pretty much any of it, just because I'm not trying to make tutorials like I had said before. This is just for people to enjoy watching. If you learn something, that's, good for you. But if you want to see something, I guess, ask for it and I'll see what I can do. But I don't know, it just kind of all depends. If you look, this is, you set it to 0, and then as I torque it, it's going to show the stretch on the gauge, which now flip it over to do the other side. See if I can't show at least some of it. Kind of watch that gauge go up as I tighten it down. Six and a half. I do a lot of videos like this on my Instagram just to kind of like, I don't know, it's stupid, but it just shows off kind of that good clearance that you want, but you always want to have that nice kind of gradual fall. Kind of magnetic drag is what I've heard it referred to, but that's just how you get that good clearances, everything's nice.